Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Well, we're gonna dive straight in, but first let me remind you that if you want any exclusive sign-up bonuses, check out the links below. And let's get into it. Alright, so I got this little fractal thingy popped up here. In case you don't remember what this is, it's basically the FTX breakdown and chop that followed. But on a lower time frame, of course. So basically what I took is the period that started after this FTX collapse and then up on this until this point. So obviously these are fractals and time frames and etc. don't match up, but I found it quite interesting that at this point as well, we had this initial bounce and then we had a higher low, and then this one didn't quite take it. In our case, but on the FTX thing, we did take it out. And then from there on out, we had this scam pump, instant retrace, a bit of chop, and then another scam pump, which retrace. And it didn't quite make a lower low, but it did just chop everyone up after this big dump. And I think that's quite likely to occur here as well. So while this is not really actionable, it's something that's worth looking at, because very often after these big dumps, people are either expecting like let's say we are all the way down here. So people are either expecting us to do just straight back up or straight back down. And in reality, usually chop or sideways is the most likely scenario. So we can see how we're still stuck within this range. We have a lot of levels right above us here. Of course, we still have these levels that are untouched, like we have this one from Friday, and then the one from the initial dump down, and the futures pair went to like 24.2 or 24.6, depending on the exchange. But let's see, we got so many levels around here. So we have the weekly VWAP, which is sitting all the way up here, and VWAP, in case you don't know, is volume weighted average price. So it's basically the price and how much volume was traded at it, and it makes this general kind of a moving average line, but obviously it's the price but weighted on how much volume was done. So let's say down here we do a lot of volume and up here a bit less, it will be skewed more towards the downside. But those areas tend to be very solid levels that price tends to hover around. So we got the weekly one, we got the monthly one, and then with that as well, we got these nicely layered on top of each other. So the daily open, which is obviously from today, and then the monthly and the weekly open basically at the same level. And to top it all off, we have this high volume node, which makes sense because a lot of trading has been done around this 26k area, and it's sitting right here. And you can see how price has still so far not managed to get that back above it after this dump. To easily journal and track your trades, consider trying out Coin Market Manager. It's as simple as connecting your exchange API to the website to get your analytics ready. Sign up using the link below, get a 14-day trial, and I hope you really enjoy it. I know I've been using it for a while and I can't go without at this point. So we tested it, like I'd say here once, twice, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 times if you keep zooming in. And then here another monthly open retest, which also failed. But somehow price is also so far failing to continue down. Obviously this was weekend, and yesterday was a holiday day, Labor Day in the US, so the stock market was closed as well. So it will be interesting today. We'll open up in like 1.5 hours, so maybe we'll get some volatility and liquidity back into the market. And obviously the main area people are watching for is this level. Many people are looking for this level to get swept, to either exit their shorts or enter longs. Obviously this would be like the ideal scenario, which it makes sense, but to me it feels a bit too obvious. So a scenario I've seen come by as well from some people. I do think if we do get above 26 to 26.1, so above this region, that we will continue to fill this inefficiency mostly up until here and maybe up into 27k. So that would be all the way up here. And alternatively, I think this level, this high here, might give some resistance. But overall, I think this move should be relatively easy, seeing how there's like no resistance up here as we went straight back down and straight back up on the way up as well. But obviously this is a very rough area to push through, so we'll need some kind of squeeze or liquidity to come back in the market to push us up here, because you can see how it keeps failing and it has kept rejecting. But on the other hand, the bears also have failed to push lower as of yet. But good to keep in mind, we are at resistance, and I'd always wait for confirmation above here to get some sense of where this wants to go. And of course, in case of us going up there from there, could very well be that it's going to be like, okay, an efficiency now closed, and it's then taking out this low and maybe some lower, and then from there bounces again. I mean, this would chop up a lot of people. It's one of those max pain scenarios people always talk about. Usually those don't end up happening in the end, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. But basically, main levels for me remain 26 to 26.1. I think above there it makes sense to push higher, and I think as long as we're below here, we should be careful for a move to take out these lows. And while it's doing that, it's also good to then keep in mind, okay, let's take this one, doesn't matter, that these perpetual pairs here on Bitchit as well, I think Binance, Bybit, all of them went to like this region somewhere around here. So this wick is quite a bit lower. So it could be that it sweeps it on the spot pair, for example, which is this one, and it doesn't sweep it on the perpetual pair initially. But I do think front running it would be arguably more bullish than just taking this and then bouncing, because I feel like if this happens, yes, we might see a temporary bounce and then might take these highs, for example, but then in the end it does go on and take these lows on the perpetual pairs later on, for example. Overall, of course, it's choppy. We're in a range, we're in the middle of it. Really no solid direction here, but it's good to note that one sign of strength I tend to look at a lot is ETH BTC. Now, we know ETH BTC hasn't done much, especially in the past 2 to 3 months. It's in this huge falling wedge. It's been rejecting of this daily 200 MA, EMA, like every time since falling below it back in January already. But it seems to be like crawling back up, and I feel like it might want to break out here. And I think in the past it has happened where ETH BTC pushes up, and obviously ALTS tend to really like it. But it also occurs that ETH BTC pushes up and then takes Bitcoin with it. So with this pushing up, and it's very compressed, obviously, like this was barely any price action that happened, where if you zoom in, you can probably draw something like this, some kind of flag or whatever. And just looking at here back below, we have the ATR, which is the average true range. So I think this is the average expected move in a day, for example, with some standard deviations. Simply said, the lower this is, the more compressed or less volatile something is. So right now we're at like levels that are, what is it? Like what, all the way back to 2020 something, like in this region. And what tends to happen, like I think it's similar to this kind of area, for example, the way it's looking right now. So what tends to happen, obviously direction is no given with volatility measures, but what tends to happen is a big move that will follow from this. So it's the same we had on the breakdown on Bitcoin last month, but here as well, you saw once this started going, it was like a 50% plus move. And the same happens on the downside. I mean, we can see it, where can we go back to? Like all these periods, of course, these were pretty low volatility as well. And I'd say this was more part of the bigger trend down still, but this was quite choppy for quite a while. And then obviously once it started moving, it really started going. And it's usually a trend you don't want to fade. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on EBTC and seeing if this can really help push the market. Obviously, this breakdown, I mean, it's based on the daily chart, or a breakout, I should say. I mean, I wouldn't really call this a breakout just yet. I mean, people are probably going to call for it, but this is a diagonal line. So depending on how you draw it, whether you take it on this high, for example, or you take it on the logarithmic chart, it can look so much different. And in this case, we're nowhere even close to it. So I'd say keep some keep some attention to it, but don't value it too much just yet, as it's very low time frame as of yet. And I think the most important level, and let me remove these real quick, will still be this daily 200 MA and EMA. I think getting above there, finally, that would really signal strength, and we can probably build from there. And then, of course, Bitcoin dominance. I think if BTC were to go for a run, we would break back into this range, I think. And I think that would start at least a few weeks of altcoins gaining something against Bitcoin. So that means alt BTC pairs go up. Now, this doesn't mean that or the alts in itself in USD value have to go up, but it means they are gaining market share from Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm basically looking on that. Also, this, of course, this is at support, this is at resistance, Bitcoin at resistance. So it's getting close to like a breakout. In like a bull market, you'd probably say like, okay, we're gonna break out and we're gonna push up. Obviously, we're not really in a bull nor bear market. I'd say it's more like a sideways choppy market, and I think it's gonna remain that way for the most part of this year, until we get some news regarding the ETFs. But yeah, that's always good to keep some scenarios in mind. Then, 2 interesting coins. So, of course, sentiment is bad. People are calling for alts to zero and anything like that. But there's been some coins, especially the Binance Launchpad and AI coins, I'd say, that are getting to interesting levels. And some of them, during all the volatility, they have been trying to make some higher lows, and higher highs are not made just yet. But I think if something like HFT, which I got here, can break above this and then break out of this falling wedge, I think this should be a nice base for further moves up. And another good example is FET, which is obviously like one of the main AI coins. It has already broken above the 200 daily EMA, which has usually signaled like a start of some bigger reversal. Now, I don't think this is gonna happen, as this is absolutely massive, but who knows? I think as long as it holds support around here, and then it can try and attempt a break at the 200 daily MA, and if it really flips that one, I think this should signal for a bigger reversal to possibly even up here, and then chop, maybe even just chop around here for the rest of the year into 2024, for example. And a lot of coins look similar, but it's not nearly all of them. Like, it's these Binance Launchpad coins that are, for example, like you can see these are, even though obviously they're all down a lot, but it's coins like these that they are seeing some more liquidity injections than others. Like, compare all these to, for example, well, this is a new coin, obviously, but Solana also might be finding a bottom here, for example, but it really has to bounce. Like, they're all at critical support, or they just swept some lows again. So they're not looking as pretty, but it doesn't mean they can bounce, of course. And I think all this will mostly depend on what ETH-BTC is doing. So ETH-BTC, I wouldn't want to see go below 0.063 again. And if it can build from here and finally do some push-up, like, it kind of has to go above this region, really, to get some stuff going. So even though that's only a few percent, I mean, the pace this has been moving, that's quite a lot currently. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm a bit optimistic. Like, I'm more looking for longs instead of shorts right now, but I do want to see some confirmation first. So BTC preferably above 26k, and then we might play the move to like up here. Oh, here's the BART move I drew back in for a stream. We did finish it. I think I drew this before this happened even. Obviously the grayscale news came out, so that's quite funny. But yeah, I think get above 26 and we can target like 26.5 and 27. Obviously, if we get above it, then back below it, it would just be a deviation. Like, let's say we sweep these levels and then we do this. That would really not be ideal, and on this kind of move, I would start looking for hedges or shorts or whatever. But I think if you get above here and we stay above it, I would target more upside instead of downside. And I think the fact, if it does that and it has held all these lows, which just didn't get taken out, I think it is rather bullish because obviously a lot of shorts have been front run for the targets, longs didn't get their entries, and usually this can be a good floor for a move up. I mean, we've seen this a lot in the past. If I can shortly go back, here it did take it and then did take it on the second one, so that's not that crazy. But I think, yeah, something like this, I think is a good example. Hold up, I lost where I was. Okay, something here, which is funnily enough also in September, but it was 2021, so it's 2 years ago. But here as well, we had one big candle, then one more sweep, but then all these following ones, like if we really zoom in, this one didn't get taken out. This one, I think, what did it get taken out? No, it didn't. And then once again, this one also didn't take all those out. So you can imagine, like, this was quite a big bounce, for example, like 4%, almost 2K on Bitcoin. But when it came down here, you can bet that at this point, everyone was looking for this to happen and probably even get those bottom ones as well. So likely a lot of shorting happens, a lot of people not longing just yet because they're waiting for this to occur. And then just price takes off because someone is likely absorbing everything, or he's profiting from like the liquidity that's being injected by all the shorts or the selling that's occurring here for people expecting a breakdown. And very often this can be just more profitable for these big players that are making these moves than actually getting the sweep and having everyone on board on the same move. So that's always something to consider. So even though in a choppy market, I do think liquidity makes sense and makes sense to take these lows, but keep in mind it doesn't always have to happen. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed. For any further information, Telegram channel, YouTube, whatnot, Discord. Well, Discord is the Crypto Hounds, so check that out if you're interested. And yeah, I wish you all a nice day and good luck. Bye-bye.